They taught us that the universe came to be by accident, that life is just a bunch of lucky coincidences. And today they're teaching our kids that life is the product of blind evolution. In this video, we're using artificial intelligence to prove the opposite. Through evidence in the universe, evidence in life, and evidence in ourselves. It's time to face this with a question we can't ignore. This question comes up for everyone sooner or later. How can we be sure that God exists? Maybe you're a believer, but still have moments of doubt creep in. Maybe you wonder, what if all this worship, all this effort, is for nothing? Let me assure you, you are not alone. Even the greatest people, thinkers, scientists, and even prophets have questioned, searched, and longed for certainty. Doubt is not a weakness, it's an invitation to seek clarity. If God exists, wouldn't he leave signs, clear and undeniable, pointing to him? Not just ideas or traditions, but evidence woven into reality itself, the precise order of the universe, the complexity of life, and the laws that govern existence. Are these just coincidences, or do they show us something bigger? For centuries, philosophers, religious thinkers, and scientists have argued about these questions. But seeing the signs isn't enough. If they're truly from God, they must stand up to scrutiny. Faith is powerful, but without certainty, it weakens. True belief must be based on more than tradition. It needs to be built on truth that can stand up to questions. That's why we won't just look at these signs. We'll test them with reason, science, and the most advanced technology of our time. What if we used artificial intelligence, AI, the peak of human reason, to look at the question of God's existence from many angles? Can it help us see more clearly what generations have believed for centuries? Can it help us recognize the Creator's signature? I promise you, a journey that will permanently change how you look at reality. This might sound like a lot, but proving God's existence isn't the highest point, it's the foundation. From here, we climb to the most important question of all. If God exists, who is he? And what does he really want from us? With so many beliefs in the world, can we find certainty? This isn't a lecture. It's not just philosophy or guessing. What follows is an examination of reality. Signs looked at calmly and without making up our minds beforehand. Through evidence taken from science, reason, and the natural world, what follows will not only challenge those who doubt, but will strengthen the faith of those who believe to its highest certainty. How do we approach the question of God's existence? Can it be answered through science, reason, or history? Or does it remain a matter of personal belief? For centuries, people have looked for proof using different methods: philosophy, morals, and religious traditions. But today, science is a big part of the discussion. It's based on experiments, can be measured, and is widely accepted. That's why we'll use science as a main tool in our search, but not the only one. Even though science can explain how things work, it doesn't always answer why they exist in the first place. To get the full picture, we need to check all the evidence we can find, scientific, philosophical, and historical. But if God does exist, another important question comes up. Did he ever send a message to people? There are many traditions in the world that say they come from God. We're not trying to attack any religion. If a message claims to be the last and for everyone, then it needs to pass the toughest tests. Because of that claim, we chose to examine one message that explicitly makes this claim. That book is the Qur'an. Because the Qur'an doesn't just tell people to believe, it constantly asks them to think, observe and see the signs in the universe, in life and in ourselves. Through its verses, it points to signs that we should notice, think about and connect to reality. And that's the path we'll take in this study, looking at the existence of the universe, life, the human body, our consciousness and the very meaning of existence. It's important not to see these signs as separate examples. These are specific things we'll look at together later, not just by describing them, but by analyzing them and figuring out how likely they are with the help of artificial intelligence. So pay attention to the things and evidence we'll talk about, because we'll come back to them, connect them, and then see what they mean as a whole. I'm not asking you to just believe me. I'm asking you to follow the argument. And now, let's follow these signs and see where they lead us. But before all of this, there's a key question. Why is the question of God's existence even important? Because it shapes everything, our purpose, our choices, and even how we understand reality. If God exists, then every moment of our lives has meaning. If he doesn't exist, then life is just a passing shadow with no final answer to why, where everything comes down to just making more of ourselves, fleeting pleasures and survival. For believers, it offers a moral compass, strength through tough times, and hope for an eternal reward. For skeptics, it poses a challenge. What if there's accountability beyond this life? Can reality stretch beyond what we can see? Believing in God here isn't blind faith. It's a certainty built through thinking, evidence and signs. And we find this very approach in the Qur'an. The Qur'an expresses this purpose like this: "We did not create the heavens and the earth and everything between them in vain." 38:27. Nothing in existence is without meaning. Everything around us points to a purpose and order. And in the Qur'an, we find the same call to reflect. Indeed, in the heavens and the earth are signs for those who believe. And in your creation and in what he spreads forth of living creatures are signs for people who are certain in faith. 45:3-4. So now, in our search for the truth about the divine, we're following the signs the Qur'an calls us to. We're starting with the biggest sign, the universe. Is the universe just a result of random chaos, or does it show signs of being made on purpose? From huge galaxies to the delicate balance of physical laws, everything around us points to great precision, an order too perfect to be an accident. The Qur'an asks us to think about this, saying, "Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth and the alternation of the night and the day are signs for those of understanding." Qur'an 3:190. Think about how finely tuned the universe is. Scientific constants, like the force of gravity, the speed of light, and the strong nuclear force, are set with amazing accuracy. A tiny change in any of these values would make life impossible. In other words, the universe is set up so precisely that even a tiny difference means no stars, no planets, no life. As physicists Barrow and Tipler pointed out, if the gravity constant changed even a little bit, stars like our sun couldn't form, and the universe would be an empty, lifeless space. The Qur'an points to where everything came from, saying, "Have those who disbelieve not considered that the heavens and the earth were a joined entity, and we separated them?" Qur'an 21:30. This aligns remarkably with what modern cosmology later discovered, describing the creation of the universe in a way that was hard to imagine when the Qur'an was revealed. Even dark energy, the force that makes the universe expand, is set with amazing accuracy. As physicist Martin Rees explains in his book Just Six Numbers, even a small change in the strength of this expansion would stop galaxies from forming. The Qur'an hints at this expansion, saying, "And the heaven we constructed with strength, and indeed we are its expander." Qur'an 51:47. Modern science confirms that the universe is not just expanding, but it's expanding in a very precise way. Without this precision, structures like galaxies, and therefore life, couldn't exist. The deeper we look into the universe, the more we find rules, balance, and order. The question that naturally comes up isn't just how the universe came to be, but why such a universe exists at all. Beyond the vastness of the universe, there's an even more delicate masterpiece, our solar system. It's not just a bunch of planets floating randomly in space. It's a finely tuned system where every heavenly body plays a key role. A small change in its balance would make life as we know it impossible. Imagine if the sun were placed just a little further from Earth. The planet would freeze and its ecosystems would collapse. If the sun were just a little closer, Earth would overheat, becoming unsuitable for life. Such delicate positioning reflects the complex balance needed to sustain existence. The Qur'an emphasizes this celestial order, stating, "Neither can the sun overtake the moon, nor can the night outstrip the day. All float in an orbit." Qur'an 36:40. This verse describes stability and order, not chaotic movement of celestial bodies. Our planet's unique features also support life. Earth's atmosphere acts as a protected ceiling, filtering out harmful radiation, while at the same time allowing essential sunlight to reach the surface. The Qur'an describes this protective feature, saying, "And we made the sky a protected ceiling, but they turn away from its signs." Qur'an 21:32. Without this protection, life on Earth's surface would not be possible. Earth's magnetic field deflects solar winds and protects the atmosphere from being gradually destroyed. Even the moon plays a vital role in sustaining life. Its gravitational pull stabilizes Earth's axial tilt, ensuring relatively stable seasons. Without that stability, climatic conditions would be chaotic, and the long-term development of life seriously threatened. This interconnectedness of celestial bodies highlights the complex balance that sustains life on Earth. The deeper we look, the clearer it becomes. Our solar system is not just functional, but it's also incredibly precisely tuned for life. The question is no longer whether this system works. The question is why it works exactly like this. As the Qur'an pointed out earlier, and what he scatters of moving creatures are signs for people. Qur'an 45:4. Life on Earth isn't just plentiful. It's precise, complex, and full of amazing systems that make you think. At the heart of all living things is DNA, a blueprint that holds billions of instructions inside every single cell. This code stores huge amounts of information, like a library packed with books, yet it's held in something so tiny you can't see it with your bare eyes. It guides every function in the body with amazing accuracy, making sure life works with perfect precision. Water is another basic need for life. The Qur'an highlights its importance, and from water we made every living thing. Qur'an 21:30. Modern science confirms that without water, no known form of life could exist, because it's crucial for biochemical reactions, cell processes, and the stability of ecosystems. The natural world shows specialization in every species. Birds have hollow bones for flying, fish get oxygen through their gills, and every organ in the body is perfectly suited for its job. Such adaptations don't happen by chance. They point to a systematic precision that allows for survival and function. The Qur'an describes the amazing instincts of creatures, and your Lord inspired the bee to eat from all kinds of fruits, to follow the paths of its Lord. And from it comes a drink in which there is healing for people. Qur'an 16:68. This short description of instinct, organization, and benefits for humans still fascinates modern biology and medicine today. The Qur'an also highlights the communication of ants. And an ant said, "O ants, enter your homes so that you are not crushed." Qur'an 27:18. Research shows that ants use complex chemical signals and vibrations to coordinate colony activities, which goes far beyond just instinct. Even tiny organisms show amazing complexity. The Qur'an says, "O people, a parable is given. Those you call on besides Allah cannot create even a fly, even if they all came together." Qur'an 22:73. Despite advances in technology and artificial intelligence, humans still cannot create even the simplest living organism from nothing. From huge ecosystems to the tiniest creatures, the deeper we look at life, the clearer we see the precision, information, and purpose. The signs of life aren't hidden. They're woven into the very fabric of reality. The search for God's existence isn't just outside us, it's inside us. Our own bodies, with their amazing complexity, purpose and precision, give us some of the clearest signs we carry with us every day. Allah asks, "And in yourselves too, do you not see?" Qur'an 51:21. The human body is a masterpiece of design. The brain, with its 86 billion neurons, creates a complex network that processes, adapts and puts together information better than even the most advanced supercomputers today. It allows for awareness, memory, feelings, making choices, and knowing yourself, things no artificial intelligence has in the human sense. The heart, which beats over 100,000 times a day, pumps blood through an incredible 60,000 miles of blood vessels, enough to go around the earth twice. Without us even thinking about it, it keeps us alive, delivering oxygen and food to every cell in the body. Our eyes are another amazing example of precision. They can tell the difference between millions of shades of color and send huge amounts of information to the brain in a split second, always adjusting to light, movement, and how far away things are. Allah reminds us, "Did we not give him 2 eyes?" Qur'an 90:8. Speaking and hearing make up a complex system of talking to each other. Understanding speech needs perfect teamwork between the brain, hearing, tongue and vocal cords, turning air vibrations into meaning almost instantly. Allah says, "It is He who gave you hearing, sight and understanding. How little you are thankful." Qur'an 67:23. These systems are not random. They work together like connected parts of one whole, where a problem in one part affects the entire body. Can such amazing complexity, awareness, intelligence and perfect coordination really come about without a purpose or plan? Allah asks a question that goes right to the heart of the matter. Were they created from nothing, or did they create themselves? Qur'an 52:35. In other words, if they weren't created, where did they come from? The deeper we look inside ourselves, the clearer it becomes that these signs point to the wisdom of a creator, not just random chaos. The signs aren't just around us, they are woven into who we are. Beyond biology, beyond the physical systems that keep us alive, there's something even more amazing: human consciousness. Unlike any other animal, we can think about ourselves, be creative, and wonder about why we're here. Can these special qualities be fully explained by just physical stuff, or do they point to something deeper than just chemical reactions? The ability to think, feel, and know right from wrong isn't just something we learn from society. It's built into us. A sense of what's right and wrong is found in all cultures, guiding ideas of fairness, kindness, and being responsible. Albert Einstein once said, "The most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible." If the world is just random chaos, how do we explain that the human mind can understand its rules? This built-in moral compass and the ability to understand reality point to a source that can't just be explained by biology, evolution, or our surroundings. The Qur'an confirms this inner part of humans by saying, "And he inspired it, the soul, with knowledge of its wickedness and its righteousness." Qur'an 91:8. What makes us aware, able to think, have morals, and feel emotions? We're not just biological machines. We have a soul. If consciousness and morality were just accidents, it's hard to explain why they are so deeply woven into what it means to be human. No purely physical explanation has yet fully explained consciousness and morality. If this journey of reason and meaning has been valuable to you so far, a quick like, comment, or subscribe helps these kinds of questions reach even more people. If consciousness and morality are more than just matter, then we can't ignore the question of God. Is life just a random accident, or does it point to a thoughtful creator? Among the many signs in nature, one stands out: the creation of life in pairs. The Qur'an says, "And we created pairs of all things so that you may reflect." Qur'an 51:49. This pattern is everywhere, from plants and animals to humans, where the existence of two perfectly matching parts seriously questions the idea that life came about only through random evolution. Atheists say that human life developed over millions of years through random changes. But even if we accept that, how do we explain the man and woman, the emergence of highly complementary reproductive systems that only function together? Together, they create offspring from just one drop of fluid, a process so complex and exact that it leaves little room for a simple, random explanation. Darwinism, often used by atheism to explain the variety of life, also struggles to explain consciousness, morals, and the huge complexity of human existence. These parts of life go far beyond just surviving or having babies. The ability to think about where we came from, feel for others, and create art can't easily be explained by random changes and natural selection alone. Even Darwin himself admitted there were gaps in his theory, calling them a pretty difficulty. But the problem isn't science itself. True science follows the evidence wherever it leads. In other words, the question isn't whether science works, but whether it alone can explain everything. The problem happens when materialism becomes a fixed idea that rules out the possibility of purpose or design, no matter what the evidence shows. When the evidence strongly points in that direction, why should we only look for physical explanations? With all this in mind, the natural world, our bodies and our minds all point to a creator. The Qur'an isn't talking about a lack of proof here, but about how people choose to see things. Indeed, it is not the eyes that are blind, but the hearts in the chest that are blind. Qur'an 22:46. The signs are all around us. The only question is, will we recognize them or ignore them? What are the chances that everything in the universe, its balance, its complexity, and our very existence happened by accident? For some, these signs go unnoticed, dismissed as mere coincidences. But the numbers don't lie. To check this, we used AI to figure out the chance of life and the universe just happening by accident. The results were mind-blowing. We looked at 9 key things needed for life and the universe to exist. The super-exact tuning of gravity, the strong nuclear force, the cosmological constant, Earth's spot in the Goldilocks zone, a steady orbit, a protective atmosphere, how DNA forms, reproductive systems, and how human proteins are made. Each of these things is super important. To make sure we weren't just guessing, the AI checked its math against real science studies, using work from top physicists, cosmologists, and biologists. And when we looked at the chances, the numbers were just unbelievable. The gravitational constant. It's precise to 1 in 10 to the power of 10. Even a tiny change in this number would make the universe either crash in on itself or spread out so fast that galaxies, stars, and life could never form. The cosmological constant? Even crazier, 1 in 10 to the power of 120. That number is so unbelievably exact that even top scientists struggle to explain why it's so perfectly set for galaxies and planets to form. DNA formation? Over 1 in 10 to the power of 200. For even one working protein to just show up by chance, the odds are so low that statistically it would never happen in the entire life of the universe. Now think about what happens when we put all 9 of these things together and ask, what's the chance that all these conditions lined up perfectly by accident? The answer? A number so close to 0 that by chance becomes totally unbelievable. Each factor on its own rules out chance, but together they make it super clear. This level of precision means it had to be designed on purpose. Still, some people choose to ignore all this clear evidence, putting their trust in luck instead of thinking about what it all means. We're not making fun of anyone here. We're just asking if chance is really a good explanation. The universe has spoken with numbers, and it has spoken clearly. For those who are willing to think about it, the implications are unavoidable. This level of harmony, complexity, and precision can't come from chaos. It points to a plan. If these findings are too precise for chance, they demand an answer. A reality so perfectly tuned can't create itself. It must be the result of a deliberate design. And if that's true, one big question remains. What does this creator want from us? We've looked at the universe, life, and what it means to be human. And the answer is clear. Everything points to a creator. But this brings us to the next, even bigger question. Who is this creator? And what does he want from us? In our study, we use the Qur'an, pointing out signs that match up with modern science. But now, a big question comes up. Is the Qur'an something humans made up? Or is it a message from God? If the Qur'an was made by people, then it would have to be limited by the time it was written. If it's a message from God, then it has to show consistency and knowledge that people in the 7th century couldn't have had. The Qur'an has many descriptions of things in nature, from how the universe started, to how life grew, and even the deep parts of being human. The question isn't if these descriptions can be seen as symbols, but if they can be explained as just guesses made by people. To find out, we use the same method we use in science, looking for patterns, checking if things are consistent, and figuring out how likely something is. If many different descriptions in the Qur'an match up with what science found out centuries later, then we have to seriously rethink the idea that it all happened by chance. In this study, we looked at examples of 9 Quranic examples from this research, covering topics like the universe expanding, how the cosmos began, the atmosphere protecting us, the stages of human growth, and how complex living things are. Each of these descriptions could be tried to be explained away as a guess on its own, but together they form a pattern that's hard to say is just luck. To make it even less about personal feelings, we used artificial intelligence to help figure out the chances. The AI here isn't judging faith, but how likely something is. What's the real chance that many correct descriptions would show up without any knowledge or source? The results were amazing. The chance that these descriptions appeared by accident was so tiny that it's basically impossible to happen. In other words, it's not just one lucky guess, but a bunch of separate things that match up and make each other stronger. This doesn't prove God with a math problem, but it really makes us question the idea that the Qur'an is just a human accident. If the Qur'an couldn't have come from the limited knowledge of the 7th century, then it makes sense that its source is beyond what people can do. And if its source is from God, then the Qur'an isn't just a book, it's a message. A message that doesn't ask for blind belief, but for understanding, thinking, and responsibility. And with that knowledge, there's one more question we can't avoid. If the message is clear, what will we do with it? After all of this, the question still remains, where are we now? The balance of the universe, the amazing way life works, and how precise human beings are, needs so many different things to line up perfectly that the idea of it all happening by pure chance just doesn't make sense anymore. These signs aren't just scattered or hard to understand. They show up again and again, building on each other and proving each other right, in the universe above us, in the life around us, and inside ourselves. This is exactly how the Qur'an guides our attention, not through big, unclear statements, but through real, clear signs in the world, asking people to connect them, not to ignore them. For others, this journey has shown what was always there. The Qur'an isn't just a book, it's a message from God. It asks us to think about God's signs in the universe and in ourselves. The signs the Qur'an talks about couldn't have come from what people knew back then, nor could they just be a lucky guess that matches what we're finding out today. They form a pattern that you don't see by just looking quickly, but by paying close attention. For those who already believe, this proves that faith isn't blind, but has a strong foundation. For those who doubt, this is an invitation to turn that doubt into a real search for answers. And for those who came here without faith, this is a chance to think about whether ignoring these signs is really a neutral way to be. In the end, the question isn't whether the signs are there. The question is whether we will want to see and recognize them in our hearts. Your Creator, the maker of the universe and of yourselves, doesn't force you. He calls you to Him through the signs in the world and through the Qur'an that connects them.